What's going on, guys? It's Tom of Top 10 Wrestling and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be discussing the TNA Impact episode in 2010 where Samoa Joe made his return after being kidnapped by ninjas. It can be put down as one of the best returns in TNA history or one of the worst returns in TNA history, but we're going to get right into it. Before we do get into it though, be sure to subscribe and notification.
It's me, Marky D. And Tom can shut up. I've had enough of him. Stop stealing my videos, you imposter, and trying to invade my channel. I was happily doing my TNA v WWE Monday Night War episode. You're all over the blimmin' video. I've just released it and you've already ruined it. Well, do you know what? This week, I'm going to ruin your video. No offence if your fans don't like it. Pass the remote, we're starting with Raw. Raw starts out with the game Triple H stomping to the ring. He will be taking on Sheamus in a street fight at Extreme Rules. Triple H talks about the recent volcanic eruption in Iceland. Because the last episode of Raw was in England, the whole Raw roster was stuck in Europe, except Triple H, who didn't turn up because he was too good for us. He's then interrupted by three strange-looking men. CM Punk is leading his straight-edge cult to the ring. Punk says he's got two words for them: Jersey sucks. Triple H makes fun of Punk's friends for being bold, and then he makes fun of Punk for not using shampoo. I'm quite enjoying this exchange. This is a nice change from the previous weeks. Punk tries to get Triple H to join his little crew, but he rejects them, and then the Straight Edge Society attacks him and tries to shave his head. Rey Mysterio then runs out to make the save for Triple H, as he's taken on CM Punk at Extreme Rules in a match where Punk's hair is on the line. Rey then cuts off some of Punk's greasy-looking locks, before Gallows interrupts the pruning. Can you imagine just how bad that sweaty chunk of hair smells? I can't bear to think about it. It probably smells as bad as you, Tom. The guest hosts this week are the cast of Magooba, whatever that is. They also hype up that there'll be a draft next week. Back in the ring, Drew Galloway is taking on Matt Hardy, but neither of them get their entrances shown. How times have changed for Drew Galloway. Matt Hardy starts off this match on top and does a neck breaker and an axe handle smash before Drew fights back by kicking Matt Hardy into the ring steps. Back in the ring, Matt Hardy fights back with the side effect for a close 2. Drew McIntyre is the Intercontinental Champion at this time, but literally nobody cares about him. Matt Hardy then gets jerked off the top rope and Drew then pins him out of nowhere for the 3. The crowd are in dead silence, but I don't care about that because TNA is stupid. How are you getting on, Tom? Bet you're glad I stopped by today.
Give me back that damn remote, Marky. Anyway, TNA opens with World Champion AJ Styles coming out. Styles has said Flair will be here a little bit later, and he says that last night at Lockdown, he proved that pound for pound, he is the best wrestler in the world after beating the Pope. He is then interrupted by Rob Van Dam and his terrible theme. The crowd chants for RVD, and RVD says that AJ might be confused by that, but that's a crowd reaction, and basically insinuating that AJ doesn't get one. Burn, I guess? RVD says that AJ is not the best wrestler in TNA, let alone the world, and that times have changed. Yes, they have, RVD, and very much for the worse. Jeff Hardy then comes out and he says the charismatic Enigma, terrible nickname, is here to complete his collection of world titles, which then leads to Hulk Hogan's music hitting and him coming out. Bloody hell, the amount of interruptions, I forgot how much TNA used to do this. Hogan makes a match between RVD and Jeff Hardy tonight in a #1 contenders match for the world title to face AJ Styles later tonight for the world title. And yeah, that pretty much happened. Marky D, you can have the remote back, just don't break it.
Well, thanks for that, Tom. TNA are stupid giving away Hardy versus RVD for free, and whatever the main event turns out to be tonight. Back on Raw, John Cena is being interviewed via satellite. He says he's sorry to the fans for missing the show. Kozlov is in the ring on the mic and he's in his red dressing gown. He gets King to read out a statement that he's written. He's basically just moaning about being a jobber and says he wants better competition. He also makes fun of New Jersey. Two people who look like they're from the 80s then come out to the ring. The girl talks and she sounds absolutely terrified. I'm not sure if this is her character or if she's just bricking herself. They make the match that CM Punk, Chris Jericho and Luke Gallows will be taking on Triple H, Rey Mysterio and Edge later tonight. One of these things is not quite like the others. The mullet man then threatens Kozlov, and he talks about how great New Jersey is. He then says that Kozlov's mum's uterus is full of cobwebs. Kozlov challenges him to a match, but instead he says Kozlov can fight R-Truth. R-Truth comes out, and they start shouting "What's up?" back and forth, and then suddenly R-Truth explodes, leaving nothing but Truth's smoking boots on the ramp. I'm not kidding you, this was weird. Apparently Maguna has blown up R-Truth. Kozlov says again that he will face him later tonight as R-Truth is now dead. Back from the break, and Maguna is trying to escape from the building, but he can't escape through the doors. Triple H points out that Maguna has wet himself with fear, and accuses him of stinking of urine. He comes up with a convoluted story about how he got pee all over his pants. It's really immature and stupid. Kane then walks up and Maguna says that Kane peed on his pants and not him. Maguna then runs off and wafts a smell of feces that Kane does not like the smell of. Speaking of feces, let's switch back to Tom and TNA.
We then go backstage where Flair has entered the building and he has been informed that Styles is being booked in a world title match by Hogan, and he is completely furious. But then next up we have the first match of the evening, which is going to be for the TNA Knockouts Tag Team Championships, as Daphne and ODB, who are teaming up for no reason whatsoever, literally no reason being explained why they're teaming up. They're teaming up to face the Beautiful People, who of course are the champions, and now hold all the Knockouts titles after Madison Rayne won the Knockouts title at Lockdown. The match finish sees ODB having Velvet Sky rolled up, but the ref is distracted by Madison Rayne for a very long time, which leads to Lacey Von Erich spraying ODB and Sky rolling ODB up to win the match and retain the titles. We then go back to the backstage area where Jeremy Borash and the cameras are spying on Ric Flair and AJ Styles in their locker room, and they're just kind of spying on their conversation and eavesdropping. Basically, Styles is furious that he has to defend the title with Flair banned from ringside, which I forgot to mention, but Flair says he knows he can do it, and he says he wants a rematch of Team Flair and Team Hogan tonight. Abyss and Jarrett then head down to the ring, who were members of Team Hogan last night. They said that last night at Lockdown, they beat Team Flair's ass, which prompts Ric Flair to come out with Beer Money, Sting, and Desmond Wolfe, who were Team Flair. They come down to the ring and start brawling with Abyss and Jarrett. It's a 4-on-2, so Jarrett and Abyss are easily beaten down. But then Rob Terry, of all people, comes out and makes the save and starts beating the entirety of Team Flair up just on his own, and nearly completely botches a military press on Desmond Wolfe, but thank fuck he doesn't. Eric Bischoff then interrupts Flair and says the rematch is on, and it will be Team Flair of Sting, Beer Money, and Desmond Wolfe taking on Abyss, Jeff Jarrett, Rob Terry, and a mystery man. Ooh. Anyway, back to you, scumbag.
Wow, what a terrible knockouts match, Tom. You probably enjoyed that though. No offence, but the only good part of the match was the Beautiful People's ring gear. Back on Raw, Randy Orton is being interviewed by Satellite. He's over in Ireland. It's just a quick interview. He says he'll beat Jack Swagger at Extreme Rules. The goofball himself is out next. He won a triple threat title match against Jericho and Edge last week. Swagger gets on the mic and he looks like a gone-off block of cheddar cheese. He issues an open challenge as a way to prove himself to Randy Orton about how good he really is. His teeth look like they're growing by the second. Swagger can barely talk. The Undertaker's dong sound then hits and he creaks out to the ring. This is the first time we've seen The Undertaker since he beat HBK at WrestleMania. For those of you who haven't, go check out my Destination X vs WrestleMania review. The fans are absolutely delighted to see The Undertaker. Swagger manages to knock down The Undertaker early on and everyone looks surprised. Taker then starts working Swagger's arms and goes old school. Swagger fights back with a scoop slam for a close 2 count. Taker then rolls out the ring and looks like he's struggling. He then proves he isn't struggling by introducing Jack Swagger to the steps. Swagger fights back by reversing an Irish whip and sending Taker into the steps in return. Swagger then starts working on the Undertaker's legs, but Undertaker manages to get back on top by hitting a leg drop on the ring apron. This is quite a good competitive match, with neither man able to stay on top for very long. Swagger is determined to keep working on the Undertaker's legs. Undertaker eventually manages to push Swagger out of the ring with his leg. Unfortunately for the Undertaker, Jack Swagger then wraps his leg around the ring post. They then start trading punches in the middle of the ring. Undertaker hits a running DDT for a 2, and then he hits the snake eyes on Jack Swagger, and follows it up with a big boot and a leg drop. Swagger does manage to kick out again. Taker then goes for the chokeslam, but Swagger fights out of this, only to get flattened by the Undertaker's big boot. Swagger then hits a DDT of his own, and the pin couldn't be any closer to a 3 count. Swagger then does his running splash in the corner, but Taker catches him with the chokeslam. He hits Swagger with the tombstone and then pile drives him to pin him for the 3. Swagger is the worst world champion ever. What a complete goofball. He has zero credibility and does not deserve to be in this position. Get rid of him now. Look, I think this match was necessary as nobody was taking Swagger as a serious threat at this point. He just looks like a mid-carder who had no business being in the main events. They wanted to make him look like a credible threat to Randy Orton, but the problem is he didn't really get any offense in on The Undertaker apart from one DDT, and that didn't put him in that much trouble. A good match though, quite long for an episode of Raw. It was about 12 or 13 minutes. Whatever's Tom watching can't be this good.
The Soul Tag Team Champion Matt Morgan is backstage and he walks past Shannon Moore, and Matt Morgan is offering Shannon Moore to be his new tag partner. Shannon Moore says no because he has to focus on his X Division title match and says to kiss his tattooed ass, and he walks away as a furious Matt Morgan says he's making a big mistake. Matt Morgan please beat Shannon Moore's ass. Hogan and Bischoff are backstage and they continue to tease the mystery partner, and they start talking about a brand new ranking system for the world title, which is apparently coming next week, so we'll have to see what that is. And next up is Jeff Hardy versus RVD. RVD was busted open early on in the match, and I don't really know how, but this match was good and a lot of fun. I'm not too sure why they gave this away on free TV. I mean, if they did this on the pay-per-view with a receptive crowd, it could have been great. But yeah, this was a really good match. Fans were really into it, and I was too. And RVD won the match after rolling out of the way from a Swanton Bomb and then hitting the 5-star Frog Splash for the 1-2-3. And he will face AJ Styles tonight for the TNA World title. So yeah, really good match here, but how's Raw going, Marky? Because I'm having a really good time, and I hope that you aren't.
Okay, I'll hold my hands up. I can be wrong sometimes. Jeff Hardy and RVD was good. Raw needs a strong second half to the show to win this week. Backstage, Jericho is talking to the Straight Edge Society. He said they need to follow his lead tonight. Jericho then carries on walking down the hall and talks to Maguna. Apparently Jericho's in their film. Maguna asks for help on how to deal with Kozlov. You know, if Maguna is the guest host, why doesn't he just cancel the match with Kozlov and instead put Kozlov in a handicap match against the entire SmackDown roster? Kozlov is in the ring next, but he doesn't get his entrance shown. Maguna is out next. This guy really reminds me of Eric Young. They both look like terrified little dweebs. Maguna offers to shake Kozlov's hands and then slaps Kozlov in the face. Kozlov retaliates by hitting him with his oversized meatball head. A voice then starts screaming out of nowhere, "Stop the match!" A little man then comes running out to the ring and says it's going to be a handicap match now. The Great Khali walks out and he will be Maguna's tag team partner. I forgot how great the Great Khali's Indian R&B music was. The Great Khali has a blonde wig on and he's instantly beating up on Vladimir Kozlov. Kozlov runs from the ring as he's getting battered and the match ends up ending via countout. You know, wouldn't it be a draw as Khali and Kozlov were both counted out the ring for 10 seconds? Maguna's back on the mic again, talking about how great the USA is. Yeah, you've said this about 3 times alright, we get the point. Even the crowd barely react this time. There was then a lengthy hype video for the John Cena vs Batista Last Man Standing match at Extreme Rules. You know, Extreme Rules seems to be exactly the same as WrestleMania, except better because all the matches are stipulations. Just the main event left, so we're going to switch back to Tommy Boy now for TNA.
We cut backstage to both Hardy and RVD being interviewed by Christie, and they both react to some highlights of the match. This segment was odd because it clearly wasn't scripted, and their reactions to the match were just like, whoa, that was really good, Jeff. Oh, thank you, Rob. It was just, yeah, a bit of an awkward segment, this. We then cut backstage to a locker room with Abyss, Jarrett, and Rob Terry, and they're just hyping themselves up for the match, and they're trying very hard to put Rob Terry over. TNA, from me to you, this isn't working. And that match is gonna be next of Team Flair of Sting, Desmond, Wolf, and Beer Money taking on Team Hogan of Jeff Jarrett, Abyss, Rob Terry, and a mystery partner. It's gonna basically be the same as a Lethal Lockdown match, except there's no cage, and it becomes tag team rules when everyone enters the ring. Sting and Jeff Jarrett start off the match and start fighting each other in the crowd. I do love a good crowd brawl. But then Desmond Wolf is out now, and it's a 2-on-1 situation for Team Flair. But next out is Rob Terry to even the odds, which prompts Orlando Jordan to randomly come out on the ramp and is just standing there watching the match. Nobody has any idea why he's there, myself included. We come back from a commercial break, and Orlando Jordan has just disappeared, and it's now a 3-on-3 as Rude and Abyss are now out, and then the final member of Team Flair, James Storm, comes out, and we are now closer than ever to the Mystery Man. And the Mystery Man is Samoa Joe, who is making his return after being kidnapped by ninjas, and that whole angle is being left completely unexplained. Samoa Joe coming back was genuinely a good surprise, and I was really scared that TNA were just going to pull out someone who was already active on the roster for the surprise entrant, because I hate when wrestling shows do that. But he comes in, he hits a muscle buster on Storm to win the match for Team Hogan, and yeah, that's pretty much it. But the story goes that Vince Russo actually called Joe back early from the abduction angle because he needed more baby faces and couldn't think of a resolution to the angle. So there's that. Post-match, Ric Flair comes out to the ring and starts talking, but we cut to commercial and never hear what he has to say. But then they show us what happens, and Ric Flair has challenged Abyss to a match next week for Hulk Hogan's Hall of Fame ring. So that's going to be something. And next is the main event as RVD is taking on AJ Styles for the world title. But how about a quick update on Raw from the biggest scumbag alive, Marky D, before we do get on to the main event. How's Raw going, Marky?
Oh God, Rob Terry on Team Hogan. I know he's Welsh, but I swear the lad can barely speak English. He sounds like he was dropped on his head over in New Zealand. And Samoa Joe? Wasn't he shown a couple of weeks ago straining in the lose on Impact? Now he's coming back from the ninja kidnapping as if nothing ever happened. Thanks, Vince Russo. I hope you're not condoning any of this, Tom. Back on Raw, the Game is coming out to the ring, but his entrance music is interrupted by Sheamus on the Titantron, live from his home country. Sheamus then randomly starts beating up a cameraman to try and prove a point to Triple H. Big deal, that guy was about 100 pounds. He's hardly Triple H, is he? Edge comes out to the ring limping. Jericho kicked Edge's leg on SmackDown and now he's got a bad wheel. However, Mysterio comes out and he seems to be in good health. The Straight Edge Society run out to the ring, but they ain't scaring nobody. Jericho and Mysterio start out the match, but Mysterio is being dominated by the heels. They try to regroup on the outside, but Rey Mysterio is catapulted on top of them from inside the ring. The heels then do manage to isolate Rey Mysterio, but he fights back by doing a moonsault off the ropes, and then he does manage to tag Edge in. Edge beats up on Luke Gallows, who has no business being in this match, by the way. Serena from the Straight Edge Society then gets on the ring apron to cause a distraction, and this allows Jericho to attack Edge's leg on the outside again. The heels then isolate Edge and his dodgy ankle. Edge eventually manages to fight back with a top rope clothesline, and this allows him to tag in Triple H. High knee by Triple H, he also hits the spine buster and tries to hit the pedigree, but it gets interrupted. The ref then loses control of the match as Mysterio is flying everywhere. Mysterio then hits the 619 on CM Punk, and Triple H follows it up with a pedigree to cover CM Punk for the free. And that's it, that's the end of the match. Good and quite exciting. It was a decent episode of Raw. It was quite strange with all the Raw roster being stuck in the UK and the SmackDown roster having to fill in. From my point of view, I quite enjoyed getting to see some different wrestlers this week. We will see how that affected the ratings later on. Let's hand you back over to Tom to see who's going to be the reigning TNA World Heavyweight Champion for the rest of this TNA WWE Monday Night War.
RVD is still bleeding from his head and hasn't been bandaged up for whatever reason, and this match was, again, pretty good. I mean, AJ and RVD have really good chemistry, and RVD overall has just had a very good 2 nights. He was very good at Lockdown the previous night in his match with James Storm and a Lethal Lockdown match, and his 2 matches he's had here have been really good. And major props to him, because this is his 4th match in 24 hours and he's still killing it. But RVD won the match after he countered a phenomenal forearm into a powerbomb and hit the 5-star frog splash to pin AJ Styles for the 3 count and win the TNA World Heavyweight Championship to a huge ovation. Yeah, this match was good, like I said, and a good way to close the show. And then there's a big celebration with confetti, and then Hogan and Dixie Carter, Jeff Hardy, Team 3D, Rob Terry, Eric Bischoff, Abyss, and Jeff Jarrett all come out and celebrate RVD winning the world title.
In all seriousness, thank you for Top 10 Wrestling Tom for letting me join him on the video this week. My channel is MarkyD123, and Tom was on my video where we reviewed the previous episode of Raw and TNA, just the same way that he's done tonight, so check it out, and if you don't like it, then no offense.
So that's it for TNA, and that's it for the shows this week. Marky D, please never appear on my channel again. I am going to put big protection up for this next video to make sure you aren't there. So, Marky, I swear to God, if you appear. That's going to do it for this video, guys. If you did enjoy, smack the like button. I guess I'll leave Marky's link in the description if you want to check him out, which, fine, whatever. But yeah, that's it. Subscribe, notifications on. Follow me on Twitter at Thompson Wrestling. My Instagram's at I'm Tom Bell. Comment below with suggestions for what video I should make next. And I'll see you all soon. Goodbye and keep on rolling.